So did the market sell that ETH news yesterday, or did they sell that ETH news and send us a lot lower down? So things are looking very interesting out there at the moment. We've had a little pullback on ETH. Are we going to go lower? And we've pinged some key levels. So we're going to break down the current ETH situation. I'm going to tell you the potential targets that we're going to be looking at, whether they're lower or higher. We're going to plan this thing perfectly. We're going to cover Bitcoin. I've got multiple altcoin setups for you. We might still have some short-term bounces at play. And we're looking at the Maker. We're looking at Near. I'm looking at Phantom. I'm looking at ETH beta plays. I'm looking at CAS. The list is so long. We're going to tee you guys up for the weekend. Let's get right into this. So Banter Bubbles, mixed bag, but look at this. Lincoln Ondo, they've come alive again. There was some RWA sprinklings going on today, and we've seen so much strength coming out of Lincoln Ondo. So we're going to look at those ones as well. We're going to deal with that situation. The rest of the market's pretty red. I mean, who got smashed last night on some of those ETH moves? We saw a wick on some of the exchanges. They went sub 3,500. So we're going to deal with that one. That was absolutely brutal. If you were short, you got minced. If you were long, you got minced. It was an absolute dog show out there. So let's see, how did Bitcoin actually handle the situation? What did they actually give us there in the end? So right now, BTC has been drifting down. This was our downtrend that we've been talking about now for the last couple of weeks, and things are drifting a little bit lower. And until we start breaking some trends here, we can't get too bullish on the current Bitcoin situation. So what am I looking at here right now? You can see what's going on. Our big level that we pinged yesterday is the 66k. So this was one of my big markers here that I gave you guys, the 382 fib. This was a big target that we were going to be looking at, 66k. They've come in and they've pinged it once. Are they going to come back and visit this thing one more time? So this remains, well, it remains to be seen exactly what the plan is. But what I would look out for right now, you can see we are currently sitting at a potential resistance band. So if you are scalping and if you are long at the moment, pay attention. You are at a resistance zone on BTC. Can this translate into some of the alts that you are long on at the moment? Potentially it can. So just be a little bit cautious here. What do the bulls want? Well, resistance now, 68,300 is where we are. What do the bulls want? We just want to pop this zone and start holding this 68,300 as support. Then we can start moving a little bit higher and getting a little bit more excited about things. And then lower down, we're watching 66k. This is a big one for me now. And then a little bit lower, we can't ignore the 50-day moving average here at 65,000. So get this on your chart as well. If we get a rejection here, we could start bleeding down to 65k. So that is a number that needs to come into play now. Draw your trends in as well. You can see I've got a nice little rising trend here, and we're going to see as we go along today. Here's my current situation. I'm revenge trading BTC now after they rinsed me out yesterday, and here we are. So I've hit TP zone, and Ray, what are we doing? Are we TPing here, bro? Talk to me.
Stop loss to break even.
Okay, let me know in the chats, guys. What do you think? What do you think I need to do here? All right, let's get cracking. So what actually happened here? So we got the ETF approval, and remember, this does not mean that they will begin trading tomorrow. This is what 𝗕𝗢𝗖𝗛𝗙 says. Okay, so this is now what's happened. We got the ETF approval, the news came out, and now we actually have to wait for the money to start flowing into ETH. And if we remember back to what happened with the BTC ETF, we got that approval, the market dumped. And then we spent 10 or 12 days floating around, actually quite bearish. BTC lost about 20% of value. And then when the money started flowing into Bitcoin, we got a mega move higher. We got something like an 80% push on BTC. So what are we expecting now in the ETH situation? We need to wait for this money to start flowing in. What happens between now and then? Well, potentially we could be in a bearish downtrend, but this could be a massive opportunity for you guys to be buying any weakness that you see in the market. So we're going to look very closely at the ETH chart. And Woo Blockchain says standard chartered analyst Jeffrey Kendrick said that cryptocurrency ETFs such as SOL and XRP might be approved now in 2025. I mean, we are now on the ETF train. I mean, make a list. Is PEPE next? What else is coming on these ETFs? And they're saying the ETF trading is expected to begin next month, potentially bringing in $15 billion to $45 billion worth of inflows. Okay, so there's a serious amount of money that's potentially getting teed up to move into ETH. So let's not lose, or let's not miss this current opportunity that is staring us in the face here. And any weakness for me now that we get offered on ETH is for buying, and we really need to start taking advantage of that. Okay, Bitcoin Archive says Bitcoin is looking more like the 2017 cycle every single week. They're giving you a nice little picture, and he's basically this is just a little bit of bull sauce. For those of you feeling a little bit bearish now after getting minced out yesterday, well, he's giving you a nice big push here, and he's talking big numbers. I'm not going to, I mean, dare I say 320,000, but let's start with 100K. We'll go 80K, 90K, anything around there we can start with, but he's pushing out some big numbers here for the bulls out there, so get a little bit excited. And if you're wondering what happened last night, so on top of the sell the news event here on the ETF, we also saw the PMI and unemployment numbers didn't come in very healthy, and the S&P actually started falling over late yesterday as well, so that added to a bit of the misery. And then I didn't get my pump that I was looking for that was going to give me that short opportunity on ETH. So a lot of factors came together at once there, and they disappointed. And what they didn't disappoint was the market makers, who made tons of cash in that flush out. But the S&P is climbing back up. So the S&P actually bled down and started putting pressure on its horizontals. And now today it's recovered again. So all systems go on the S&P. Things are still cooking. If you are long S&P, your main support now has been retested. So your main support is 5,250. Watch that area now. That is your retest now. It's taken place. That could be a nice little slingshot there for you guys if you're looking for longs on the S&P. And just a reminder as to where we are with the altcoins. Don't lose focus. And Rec Capital says altcoins are following the plan. Okay, altcoins bottomed in early Feb. Altcoins sold off around the BTC halving, and now altcoins to bottom early summer. Okay, so the plan is still happening. Things are still good as far as the alts are concerned, but we might see a week or two of downside, and we need to be prepared for that, and we need to be prepped for these type of situations. I see Pickle says, Celestia girls, give us a pump. Guys, can we get the Celestia girls? Can we get the Celestia girls, or the Litecoin girls, or the XRP girls, or whatever? Can we get the girls on the show?
Can we actually get the likes going? How about the likes, guys? Can we smash the likes?
So guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and let's get some more communities here on the show. If you guys want to tag any communities you know in some of these coins that might be deemed shit coins or might not be, we can get them on, and they can start telling us why we need to change our minds on the current situation. So let us know if you do have anyone. Tag us and get us involved. Okay, so altcoins, yes. So we've just seen Rec Capital's tweet. They're telling us we are on track. Okay, let's not lose focus. But what do we need to pay attention to? Number one, we need to watch this dominance on the weekly. So dominance on the weekly is now sitting on a major rising weekly trend. Remember, this was the big line that we wanted to take out over the last while. This is our fun line. This is literally our altcoin fun line. And are they going to let us break this thing on the first go? It's highly doubtful that they'll let us get away that easily with it. So look out for a potential bounce now on dominance. You can see we're on major support now on the weekly. Look out for a dominance bounce. That could be tied in with a little bit of altcoin weakness over the next week or two, or whatever the game plan is. We might see a little bit of downside until some of that cash starts flowing into the ETH ETF. So look out for a potential bounce here. Obviously, the Max Payne could be sending it higher as well, and they could really surprise us. And then we will see this dominance start losing this weekly rising trend, and then we're going to reassess where we are. But right now, dominance on support, pay attention to that. I've also got another chart for you saying ETH BTC is at resistance as well. So we just need to watch these ones closely and look out for any potential rejections there. Okay, so BTC, you know the drill now. We're watching this on the 4 hour. We are at resistance. Let me know in the chats here. Ray, did they tell me what we need to do here? Are we taking some profits here, guys, on this current BTC trade? Let's see. Ed says Sui is preparing for the bull run. And Ripple Muncher says, don't make Ray angry. Never make Ray angry. Mags wants to do Ondo. I've got Ondo prepped for you guys with link as well. We got so much content teed up here for you. Let's see. Okay, guys, I'm not seeing any responses here on this BTC long. We're at resistance. What are we doing here? We'll keep watching as we're going. Ray, if this starts falling over, you better let me know, and we'll shut this thing down. Okay, here is ETH BTC. So this is something critical. You need to watch this one very closely. This tells you a very big story with ETH, with the dominance on major support, and we got ETH BTC at major resistance. Both of these are huge areas. A rejection here for ETH BTC, as you can see, it's rejecting now, is similar to the equivalent of a dominance bounce. Okay, it's telling us that alts are flowing into Bitcoin. So watch this very closely. This is a huge thing that we need to pay attention to, and you will most likely find if we start blowing this trend at the same time, you're going to see dominance losing that weekly trend as well. well. So these are nice alt season markers for you, or alt season guides that you can use with your charting on a daily basis. So keep an eye on this current chart, and right now rejection zone, resistance, and it does tie in pretty well. Okay, let's look at the drama now and on ETH, and how are we actually going to deal with this thing. So number one, my view on the current situation, just I'm not turning bearish here. So this is potentially one of the biggest opportunities that you guys are going to get, teeing you up for this potential alt run and this potential bull market that is about to unfold. So we don't want to mess this one up. Okay, so you don't want to be in a situation where you are trading high leverage now and the market is chopping you up for the next 7 days or the next 2 weeks while we wait on the ETF funds to come into play. This is not a situation that you want to get yourself into. So what you need to do here, or what I would suggest you do here, is start watching some major levels on ETH and just play it accordingly. I was saying to the Sniper Club members earlier today, now's the time to maybe start trading a little bit less, trade smaller positions now at the moment, slow down on that leverage while we wait and see where we're going to get direction. If this market starts firing at any single point in time, we will be able to adjust and adapt accordingly, and then we can get super aggressive. But for now, we need to put our bearish hats on for the time being until we get our next catalyst that is going to really start sending ETH higher. So if that changes, we can obviously adapt as we go, but I just wanted to share some important levels for you in case we get a bleed out. Now remember, when we had the last ETF, we saw Bitcoin and ETH, they both dropped approximately 20%. Look at this arrow here. This is where we had the ETF approval, and we had ETH drop 20%, Bitcoin dropped 20% while we waited for the funds to come in. A reminder, I did touch on this yesterday as well on my show, but if we drop ETH 20%, that's going to take us down to roughly 3,200 to the 3,000 level. Is that possible? Yes, it could easily happen on some kind of slow bleed out. Do I think we can get that maximum level to 3.2? I'd be suspicious about that, because the market is now smarter to the ETF play. So the market was quite surprised that there was a 20% sell-off last time on the ETF. So I think they're going to be a little bit smarter about it this time, and they're going to start buying ETH up a little bit earlier. Okay, so if that, well, what does that tell me? That tells me we need to watch 3 levels, and 2 of these levels are a little bit higher. Number one we're going to look at here is 3,500. So this is the most obvious level for me. And the reason I like this one is that we've pinged it now once. Yesterday on that dump, when they were rinsing everybody out and liquidating people left, right, and center, this was our first zone that got pinged on ETH. And this was a 382 fib. So this was a region I did give you guys as well yesterday. I think, yeah, I did give you guys this on my show. 3,500. Level number 1 has been pinged. Now, what happens after these situations? When we get a dump, you often get a situation where they pump it up higher, everybody relaxes, everybody turns bullish again, and then they bleed you back down and they send you back for that double bottom play into that wick, and they close you out. So here's a possible opportunity here, a possible move down for ETH back to 3,500. Watch that area, look out for a reaction there. And then a little bit lower down, I've got another level for you, 3,350. That is a horizontal zone. Maybe they want to front run, you know, this 3,000 level, and 3,350 could be an area of interest for you. And then the big one here, 3,200, that's a 618, and that's some horizontals here tied in on the daily. So that's a huge level for me, and that ties in really well. If history rhymes and doesn't repeat, that ties in quite nicely with the previous ETF news. So that is the downside. Okay, that's the bear news that you guys need to deal with. Now, when things are bearish, it doesn't mean we're permanently down. When the market is bearish, we still get bounces, we still get recovery moves, we get all these types of things. So it doesn't mean you know, little moves are out of the equation, and it doesn't mean other altcoins aren't going to be popping and blowing off at the same time. So what I would suggest you on ETH, let's track this current situation. You can see we do have a downtrend potentially in play now, and until we start breaking some more horizontals here on ETH, we can't get that excited. So as long as ETH is, say, under this current region here, under, say, 3.9, as long as ETH is floating under 3.9, we got to say, okay, ETH is now sitting in a potential downtrend, and we need to play this thing accordingly. So we could easily get little pumps up and then little rejections, little pumps up and little rejections until this mini sort of downtrend is out of the way. And when does it break? It's eventually going to break, or we can eventually turn bullish when we start breaking trends, and then we can start playing this thing appropriately. So right now, that is the current game plan. Watch those downside levels. And what do I think is going to happen if now ETH, let's say ETH starts moving? Okay, remember, sentiment can change very quickly as well. And if the market starts buying up ETH a little bit early now and they start pumping this thing, when we saw BTC, when the funds flowed into BTC, we had an 80% move from the lows of the dump. And if we get the same thing, let's say ETH drops to this 382 level to 3.5, and they give us an 80% move, where does that take us with ETH? That's going to take us to somewhere around about 6K, I believe. So let's see where, let me just pull this one. There we go. 6,300 is a potential target for ETH. So, I mean, that's worthy. That's worthy. It's worthy of a bull pump. And okay, so eyes on that. That is the current game plan for ETH. And it doesn't mean along the way that we can't have a little bit of fun. So those of you in the chat, don't feel too bearish here. And, you know, this could be the start of something massive for us. And this could be an opportunity to buy some epic weakness here and on a lot of tokens, including ETH. Now, what I wanted to talk to you guys about as well is a couple of ETH plays. Now, remember, if ETH is going to be the next flavor, we're going to see a lot of ETH beta plays coming out. And some of them that are brought to our attention that you've seen me speak about before is PEPE, it's ETHFI, and it's ENS. Now, these are absolute bangers that you can start looking at for potential entries on any weakness or potential entries on any recovery bounce that we might be having. So remember, if we do get weakness, people are still got their eyes set on ETH and potential ETH plays. So any weakness, we can look for entries on these type of tokens. So let's take a look at this ETHFI situation. And Hitesh says ETHFI and the whole LST category is leading as the ETH beta play right now. Okay, so he's loving this current situation. And there's some guys arguing down there in the chats as well, saying ENS as well is a potential big mover. So let's just look at the ETHFI situation and see what is going on at this current point in time. Now, in spite of this drop that we had with ETH, this thing has recovered relatively well and seems to be quite a strong performer at the moment. So what I can suggest here for ETHFI traders, and this is something you really want to have in your portfolio, this is something that you want to have in your spot bags as a potential play on a super bullish ETH. So what I would suggest here, leverage traders, slightly different game there, and spot traders, well, you can see what's going on here. We are breaking into a new potential daily range or a new potential daily area. So let's watch this region over here, and support right now you want to look at anything down to 4.5. I quite like this area if we get some kind of short-term pullback here. So let's look out for something like this in this region. If we get this 4.5, that could be a nice little opportunity to grab some of this ETHFI. And the upper band that I'm looking at here currently is a move of around 34%. So 34% takes us to the 618, and you got to see how nicely this thing is respecting fibs at the moment. Look at this. I'm going to add this 382 here for you, and look at this absolute banger. So this thing is really respecting fibs nicely. So downside areas, what you want to do, you want to track your fibs as well with your horizontals, and upside you can see we are respecting fibs currently. Look at this 382 rejection. So if we do start pushing higher, we're going to look at the 6.5 level on this ETHFI. So currently, what would I suggest here? First line of support 4.4, number one. Watch 4.4, and then lower down you've got 3.95. Now, any weakness into these zones, you want to start adding, you want to start grabbing a little bit of this position and start timing it with some ETH lows as well and some ETH weakness. So that could play out quite nicely for you. Then another one, ENS. Now there's a lot of spice about this one, and Vitalik, this is like one of his favorites, I believe. So we hear a lot of comments about him, his involvement or his thoughts on this project. And right now, this thing has been outperforming, if you can see what it's been doing, but it's tracking quite nicely, very similar to the ETH chart. And this is the daily. So as you can see, a downside here on ETH will tie in quite nicely with downside moves on this ENS. So I just wanted to highlight two areas of interest for you. These are two zones. Mark these areas on your charts, make a note, set a limit order. These are the types of zones where you want to be buying and accumulating some of this ENS, because when this ETH situation takes off, these tokens they're not exactly going to wait for you. They are just going to get on that horse and they are going to ride. So make sure you are watching key levels here for ENS. Number one, 21.2. Number two, 18.2. Both of these are hot zones for me. Both of these are areas of interest where you want to be grabbing some of this ENS. And then don't forget, when the wheels absolutely come off, make sure you have another alarm. The 200-day MA is sitting here waiting for you like a little basket here at 16, down to 16.3 to down to 16, anywhere in that area. These are big zones that you want to pay attention to. Get these alarms on. These are areas of interest for you to start adding to your ENS bags. Anywhere in that zone is going to be handy for you. Right. Now, often I talk about what do I like to buy when there's a recovery? What do I like to buy after a dump? And we can't deny one of the best performers, whether you like meme coins or not. Ray, are you trading memes yet, bro? No.
Not yet.
Whether you like meme coins or not. Okay.
But we'd like some likes. I've lost some likes.
It's my side. I've lost your sound. Whether you like meme coins or not, we can't deny that PEPE has got to be one of the best outperformers out there at the moment. Look at this chart. So Doc dropped this chart. And if you look at the recovery here, PEPE did 17% versus look at all these other tokens. So every time, if there's a downside in the market, there's some kind of pullback and things like that, one of the go-to plays has to be this PEPE token for you guys. So make sure you got this on your list, whether you hate it or you love it, you got to trade this thing. And Max because BTC, he says, is it possible that PEPE is actually leading the market? And he's put an interesting chart out here, and very interesting the way this thing is performing. It looks pretty much identical to the BTC 6-hour chart that he's pulled out there. So definitely an interesting comments here. And as far as PEPE traders are concerned, well, I've got some levels here for you guys of interest. These are zones where you can start looking for potential moves, and these are areas where you could be jumping in to grab some spot, or if we get some kind of pullback, these could offer you some leverage setups as well. So number one for me that I really like is got to be this 382, and this level, that the level is 00013. Okay, so number one, this is the first zone of interest, 00013. Ideally, we get something along these lines. You'll get a little scalp along the way, but if we get a push down into the 382 and horizontal at 0001111, that could be another banger zone here for you on PEPE, and it won't sit here for a very long time. And especially after some kind of pullback on the market, you will look to buy this guy, and this thing should start running pretty quickly. So we've got a rising trend as well. We've got a 382. We've got the horizontal. So area number one, higher conviction zone here for me, PEPE, is got to be 111. So multiple zeros, 111. And then bounce zone number one, a little bit higher up, multiple zeros, 13. Could give you some kind of reaction. Now remember, PEPE is at all-time highs, and it's also at our 1.618 fib. So this was always going to be one of our big targets that we were watching. And remember, if you want to figure out where something's going to be on all-time high, what you can do is pull a fib from the previous high to the low, and then you can highlight your 1.618 fib, and there it is. You can see it's popped out here for us over there, and that is now our marker. And you can see how the market respects these things. You can see how the price really respects the 618 fib so beautifully here. And look at that. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It pushed straight into it, rejected out of it. And you know, when these things are trading so nicely with the fibs, you really want to find the tokens that respect these fibs so nicely. And PEPE is definitely one of them, and they're going to give you, it's going to give you a move. So get that in your portfolio, get involved on any weakness here. This could be a complete outperformer for you guys. Okay, another potential ETH play is actually brought to you from Seth from 𝗟𝗟𝗙𝗪. He sent me this earlier today. So 𝗟𝗟𝗪𝗪 is a indicator platform that we use, that's in the Sniper Club as well. He's also got his own Discord, and 𝗟𝗟𝗪𝗪 works quite simply. They use pivot levels. They use weekly pivots, they use daily pivots, and monthly pivots to give you an idea as to what is going on with the market. So Seth pinged me earlier today, and he said he's watching this maker situation here, and it's looking quite interesting at the moment. So why is this looking interesting to me? So number one, we've pulled out the weekly pivots here for Seth, and he's told me that we need to clear this weekly pivot first. So you can't enter this thing now. Well, you can enter this thing now if you want to, but as far as his 𝗟𝗟𝗪𝗪 setup is concerned, the setup only kicks off once it breaks the weekly pivot. So the setup is only valid once we actually crack this weekly pivot here. So I'm just going to delete this box quickly. So what he wants to see is a nice push above this weekly pivot. Then he wants to see some support develop in the zone. Once you have support in this area, that would then trigger your potential 𝗟𝗟𝗪𝗪𝗪 entry here for this setup. So when you see that entry box there that I put there for you guys, it doesn't mean we have to trigger that entry now. We want to break this weekly pivot first. So that we want to say we want to pop out of the weekly pivot, and it's a nice tight weekly pivot as well. And these are the ones we look for using 𝗟𝗟𝗙𝗚. So the tighter the pivot, it tells us we can get a potentially much bigger move out of the token. So I'm trading this one at the moment, and I've just opened a position 15 minutes ago off the 618 fib. So you can see it's tying in with some of my TA that I use in my regular trading setups. And once we break this 𝗟𝗟𝗚𝗚 weekly pivot, that's going to be a signal for me to add to this position. So if you're jumping in now, just be careful. It's not part of the 𝗟𝗟𝗚𝗚𝗚 entry until we blow this weekly pivot. We got to break through this first, and then if you take the trade, it's going to be a stop loss under 2,720. I've marked it here for you guys, 2,720. So if the price action starts moving lower and we start closing under this region, then you want to start cutting that potential trade. So your risk at the moment is roughly 2%. Let's just confirm where we are. We're going to pull it just to these lows here. So current risk 1.6. Well, from where we are right now, the current risk is 1%. From when we break the weekly pivot, your risk will be about 1.7%. So not a bad risk reward at play here. If we take into account his upper band, his target that he's put up here for us at round about 2,980. So in that region. So that is how we're playing it. And I've opened it on a new exchange. So I've just got my starter position going here. And this is 𝗬𝗥𝗡. They're a new exchange available for you guys. If you want to trade it on 𝗬𝗥𝗡 with me, there is a link in the description below. So jump into the show description underneath. You're going to see a whole menu of items here for you guys that's available. You know, my entire shopping list is here. The Prime XBT is here that you saw me trading on earlier. And here's 𝗬𝗥𝗡. Just under the gummy information, you'll find the 𝗬𝗥𝗡 setup. So click on that link. Take advantage of the various offers they have for you guys. They also are KYC friendly, and they've got some sign-up bonuses available for you guys. So check that out and have a go on 𝗬𝗥𝗡 with me, and we'll keep this thing moving. You know the parameters now. You know the exit points of this potential trade, and when we do eventually break this region higher up here, so we just want to blow this region up here. Once we start breaking higher, then we can start adding to this position, and you can see on this 15-minute chart that I'm using here on 𝗬𝗥𝗡, nice horizontals resistance. So once we blow that resistance, that should act as some kind of support for us on 𝗬𝗥𝗡, and then we can start sending this thing higher. So there's your current setup, and if you are interested in 𝗟𝗟𝗚𝗚, there's a couple of ways that you can take advantage of that. You can either join the Sniper Club in the link in the description below. Seth is dropping 𝗟𝗟𝗚𝗚 setups. I'm dropping some 𝗟𝗟𝗚𝗚 setups as well, and he's active in our Sniper Club. And alternatively, you can actually join 𝗟𝗟𝗚𝗚. They've got a separate Discord. There's got a whole situation going on there. So the information is available for you in the description of the show. Just check it out underneath there. Okay, let's catch up on 𝗂𝗓. So you guys know that I've been trading 𝗂𝗓 for a while, and now I'm waiting for my next entry. I'm waiting to add to this 𝗂𝗓 position. So I've teed this potential setup here for you guys, and after this downside yesterday and the potential bearish situation we could be faced with, I think we might get a move down with 𝗂𝗓, and we might be pushing a little bit lower. So that's going to give me an opportunity to add to my current 𝗂𝗓 position. So I'm looking for a little move here on 𝗂𝗓. This is the 12-hour, and you know, any pumpage we have here, I'm still assuming we're going to end up a little bit lower, and they're going to send us down somewhere into that entry box. So my bullish case, or my bull case for 𝗂𝗓, is a little bleed out into what you can see here. It's the 200-day moving average, it's the 50-day moving average, and it's the rising trend in this region. So multiple reasons why we could potentially look for another entry here, and multiple reasons why I could potentially add to my current 𝗂𝗓 trade. It's going to be a horrible round trip if they do send us a little bit lower than that. So the current 𝗂𝗓 situation that I'm watching, the exit, it will be invalidated if we start closing under 0.12. So if we start losing this 0.12, then we might be in for a bit of a deeper move. We might be in for a bit of a deeper bleed out. I don't necessarily want to sit in that and wait for the pain train. So I'll be jumping out if we start losing that current area. And this is my current situation on weeks, and here's the 𝗂𝗓 trade. So yesterday, I mean, this thing was up at about $4,000. Now it's down to 2,300 at the moment. We're going to see when we drip into that box, we're going to add, and currently the position size is 22,000, and if we drop into that box, we can add. We can really start growing the size, and that will be tied in with any fresh trades for me. I mean, for you guys, it will be tied in with me adding in that box. So I'm looking forward to that. And on Weeks, guys, remember, Weeks, same story. The link is in the description if you want a piece of Weeks action. Okay, some other news and things of interest for you guys. Grayscale launches 2 new trusts investing in NEAR and Stacks. Now, these two things have been performing like complete opposites. We've had Stacks bleeding out over the last while, and NEAR has been an amazing performer over the last few weeks. So I thought, let's just take a look at the two of these tokens, and let's just try and understand what is happening with these guys. So number one is Stacks, and this one was always a beautiful player on any Bitcoin strength. We always were getting massive moves out of Stacks in the last couple of months, and Stacks has been relatively quiet, and perfectly acceptable if this thing is going to start melting down, calming down. People are giving up some of their profits, but we know, number one, Stacks is going to revive itself. At some point, this thing is going to start ripping again, and most likely when you least expect it. So Stacks is something on my watch list. The deeper it goes, the more interested I am in the current Stacks situation. So what is my view now? What am I looking at? So there's an interesting area that number one is 1.6 that I'm paying close attention to at the moment for Stacks. The reason I like this, it's a major 618 fib pool on the weekly time frame. So what I did here, I just zoomed out completely. I took a fib from the absolute lows to the absolute highs, and I wanted to see where's my big reaction zone for Stacks. And you can see I've also got some nice weekly tie-in this region as well. You can see I've got a nice cluster of some weekly candles that are pulling in here for us as well. So for me, Stacks looking super interesting. If we do get some more downside, looking really interesting for me at the 1.5 to 1.6 level for a reaction. And how else do I deal with this thing? Well, you can see what's going on. Stacks is busy losing the 200-day moving average. Now you can see it's been holding, and today it's broken underneath the 200-day moving average. So as far as I'm concerned, Stacks is looking relatively bearish here. Stacks is telling us a story that we might be pushing a little bit lower. So there could be a bearish setup brewing here on Stacks on any push now into this trend line. So keep your eyes on this situation. If you are a bear and you're looking for shorts, you might be able to get something here with Stacks. What you're looking for is a strong push up into this trend and a fake out back above this 200-day MA. Then you're going to look for a rejection, and then our target is going to be this 1.6 region. So right now, Stacks is looking pretty bearish until we start reclaiming. So what do the bulls want to see? If the market suddenly gets a massive catalyst, let's say Bitcoin starts pumping and starts blowing through that resistance we've just seen, then we're going to see something like this. We're going to see a strong push from CAS, and then you want to look to start trading this support, and that support has got to be tied in with where Bitcoin is sitting on the current situation. So ideally, you want Bitcoin to pop through higher. When Bitcoin pops that trend, you should see Stacks looking a little bit more aggressive and then playing the game with you. So just be careful here. Stacks has lost the 200-day MA. So for me, I'm leaning to the bear side. I'm looking to things a little bit lower down. If we start breaking a trend, yes, great. Then we can trade that accordingly. But right now, nice juicy buy zone for Stacks, 1.5 to 1.6. Loving that area. That's the first stop for me until proven otherwise. Okay, NEAR, this is also, not a bad performer. It did sweat out a little bit yesterday for us, but it's recovered relatively quickly. And there's lots of bullish AI talk around this NEAR situation. And, the guys are still loving this. It's the flavor. It's the darling of layer ones, I would say, at the moment, other than maybe Sol and things like that. But NEAR's got a lot of attention lately. And what do I like about the situation? Well, for now, it's holding the trend, okay? So if the market starts turning bearish, we're more than likely going to see NEAR start losing this trend. That's going to tie in with ETH falling over and moving a little bit lower to that 3,500 region. Now, if ETH starts dripping to that 3.5 region, we're going to see weakness across the board on all these altcoins. And what are we going to do? Where are we going to pick up NEAR? So number one, your first area of interest has to be the 6.9 level. It's got to be. There's the 50-day MA and there's a 382 zone here. And then your next big region here for NEAR, 5.9. It's got to be an area where you are looking for potential buys here in the zone. So 5.9, watch that guy, and 6.8 to 6.9. So both of these are areas of interest. If ETH does push back to 3.5, we could very well start seeing things like NEAR dripping into these zones. So don't be surprised if we do get that. But remember, any weakness we're seeing in the market now over the next few weeks before this money starts flowing into ETF could be an amazing opportunity for you guys, and really an opportunity to take advantage of some last minute discount deals on some of these altcoins. So near higher conviction zone for me, 5.9, medium conviction, 6.8 to 6.9, and the degen scalpers. If you really want to have a go, you can see what's going on here, and make sure you tie any move with with Bitcoin breaking some resistance, because if Bitcoin rejects now at that current resistance, you can see it's sitting at a resistance zone. You're probably going to find near is going to start falling over. So just look out. If Bitcoin blows that trend that I've just shown you, you might start seeing some strength in near. And then what you can do to really make your lives a little bit easier, if you don't want to try and pick a bottom, you can also just bang out some trends. So what you can do is zoom in. You want to go 1 hour, you want to go 4 hour, those type of things, and you can look for these type of trend breaks and things like that. And we did a small little scalping session today on Sniper Club. We were actually hanging around watching a bit of Ondo, and some of these things do react really well on these 15-minute time frames and things like that. So if you are looking for a scalper play and you believe Bitcoin's going to pop this current resistance zone, you can do some setups like this. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look for these breaks. As you can see, near has popped this trend at the moment. And if you are looking for stop zones, well, what you generally want to do is start banging out stops under solid zones on your 15-minute areas. So for example, if you get a nice push here on near, these are your potential exit zones. These are your potential bail zones when things start falling over. So number one, if you are trying to scalp near at the moment, your most reasonable support that you can look for is 7.57, and lower down you're looking at 7.3. But other than that, if we are zooming out, bigger picture, let's pay attention. Where's ETH right now? Where could ETH potentially go? And let's not get caught up and chopped up in too many trades if we are eyeing out some big levels lower down for some of these things. Okay, Phantom, this is another one. Sonic, we know there's news on this thing. This thing's, definitely a flavor at the moment. And Phantom could be drifting into a potential zone for you. Scalper zone number one, potentially coming in for you. And then a higher conviction zone. Now, a weak ETH, for example, is going to send us to a little bit deeper and darker places here on Phantom. So 0.62, for example, is got to be your next big zone. So I was saying yesterday, for me, if we don't get a bounce here on Phantom, there's no trade here for me in this zone until we start banging lower levels here. So 0.61, 0.616, anywhere in that region for me, Phantom, that's going to be tied in with some deep ETH weakness if ETH does start falling over. So it's going to look something along these lines for Phantom if this does start losing support. So number one, you're going to look for some kind of entry in that region. By the time we get there, we'll most likely see this 200-day MA pushing up as well. So we're going to pay attention to that guy. And bounce zone number one, 0.62 for Phantom looks interesting. And higher up now, if we come here and ping this 50-day MA, you could get a nice little reaction. So this could be a reaction zone as well for you guys. Look out for the double bottom move here on Phantom. Bang, and then a little maybe short-term bounce in this region. That could potentially start teeing up our downtrend that you might start finding is going to start coming into play. So you're going to look out for something like that, and any little reaction here could be just a short-term move for you, could be a scalp move off these solid zones. And remember, bigger picture, until we see ETH and Bitcoin really kicking on, we might be expecting a little bit of a downtrend now going forward. So reaction zone for Phantom, just to wrap this one up, 0.76. Look at this reaction on the 618. Look at the reaction on the 50-day MA. And when it fell onto this zone, this is how you knew that you were going to get some kind of bounce in that area. And they really did. They really did show you the strength of these areas off that 50-day MA. Look at that bounce just from a little touch there. So scalpers dream these type of areas. You can really take advantage of some of these if you have patience and you wait for them to bang into your zone. Okay, Rune traders, we had a little bit of a move from Rune earlier today. So we were talking about this one in Sniper Club, and I was looking for an entry a little bit lower down. So Matt, one of our traders in the Sniper Club, actually highlighted to me that Rune was floating around a 618 at the time while we were talking about it. And I was looking for a little bit of a move lower down. I was actually looking for a deeper move. So I only got a small little Rune position there at the top of the box. And now Rune is absolutely fired. So what I would suggest here, if you are trading Rune, you have hit the first TP box. So Sniper Club traders that were looking at that Zoom, that were sitting in the Zoom with me and Matt and the crew earlier today, this is TP1, has actually been pinged now. And, your major support that you got to watch at the moment is still 5.84. That's a big zone that we want to watch for Rune, but a nice little start. Nice to see Rune popping off a little bit and giving us a little bit of energy there, and maybe just signs of a short-term bounce. But remember, until we start breaking highs and things like that, we need to assume that we potentially now in a downtrend. We'll see when this trend forms. It's going to happen when we get, or if we get, a rejection here at some point. That's going to then guide us as to where our potential trend is going to be. So look out for that. But this Rune has now hit TP1, and could be time to raise your stops, could be time to take some profit if you were looking at that. And if you are sitting, or you are looking for a Rune position right now, well, right now you are in a resistance band. Okay, that is why we highlighted this as a TP zone. You can see it's a resistance area, and that is normally a no trade or a no long zone. For anyone who's bullish, you don't really want to be longing too hard into resistance zones. So ideally, what you want to do, and we've seen this case on Rune before, what you want to do, you just want to clean break above, just like we showed you on Seth's example. We want to break these horizontals. We want to push higher, and we want to just confirm a little bit of support in these regions, and then that normally gives us our next entry to the next potential TP zone. So if you are looking for entries on Rune now, you are potentially a little bit late. You need to just let this push up and grab a little bit of support for you guys. Mr. Chiller says, give us some DGen charts, give us some 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥. Yes, I think I do have a little bit of 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥 here for you guys. This could be interesting. So here's 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥, and no changes here just yet. 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥 is still cruising on a massive level. So those of you who are interested in 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥, you know the drill. And those of you that don't know what 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥 is, well, basically it's the first meme media station in history. Okay, so it's basically 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥 started off as a meme, but he was dropping great content, and he was dropping alpha and all these types of things. And now he's got his own media channel. And how does it work now? 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥 sells sponsorships. Okay, and with that sponsorship money, what does 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥 do? He buys the tokens and he burns the tokens. He creates a deflationary environment here. So anybody who's holding 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥, your supply is getting limited. There's more and more tokens getting taken off the market of 𝗬𝗘𝗥, and that's potentially going to create a some nice price action for the 𝗬𝗘𝗥 holders. So right now, if you're interested in 𝗬𝗘𝗥, you can see what's going on here. It's holding a massive support base at the moment. We've got huge support in this region. Anything around the 0.06 region is support for 𝗬𝗘𝗥. That's a potential buy zone. If this project gets more and more traction, there's going to be more sponsors, more people watching 𝗬𝗘𝗥, and the more people that are watching 𝗬𝗘𝗥, the more sponsorship money is going to come in, and that means the more tokens are going to get burned. So you want to buy these meme coins always on strong support regions. You always want to buy them on these great zones. So number one, 0.06, that's a buy zone. Number two, 0.04, that's a buy zone. Both of these are solid support zones for these meme coins. You want to look at there, 0.04, 0.06. Both of these are areas where you could start adding to your bags and growing your position. If this thing takes off, it's going to absolutely rip. So pay attention to 𝗬𝗘𝗥. The ticker is 𝗬𝗘𝗥, and let's look at the size of the last move off this lower band. And the last time we pinged that band, we bounced 250%. So anything can happen. So watch these big support levels and play it safe. Okay, let's go. Let's move into the next guy. What do we got here? We've covered Near. We've covered Phantom. Jeez, we've covered banging content here for you guys. Okay, let's touch on Link and Ondo today. We've had some big movers. So Link and Ondo, RWA narrative coming back into play. Remember, Link started this whole little run for us a couple of weeks ago. And Sentiment says Chainlink has climbed well ahead of the crypto pack, quickly surpassing 17.5 for the first time in 6 weeks. Okay, on-chain data, on-chain today, there are 11 transactions in profit for every one Link transaction at a loss. These guys are cooking at the moment. And at what point do these guys start taking profit? That's the question we need to ask. Everyone is sitting in profit at the moment. Are these guys do they have diamond hands or they have lettuce hands? What is the story here? And are they going to start dumping? So ILO Alpha PLS says the RWA sector is one of the biggest beneficiaries of the spot ETH ETF approvals. Okay, it effectively confirms ETH is a commodity, albeit not explicitly stated. It's a green light for tokenization of all assets on ETH. Okay, so what do we get? We got Link, we got Ondo. You're looking at things like Aurelio as well. That's also a banger one. But for today, I brought you guys some Ondo and Link. So let's just look at the Link situation. So nice strength today for Link, and a little rejection in a rejection band. As you can see, we've hit our 17.8 level. Little rejection here. If you are trading Link at the moment, what I can do is just give you some banging zones, some solid areas that you can look for reactions on. And number one has got got to be the 200-day moving average. So 16.2, that's area number 1 for Link. You can see potential mini range play here for you. Link 16.2. Any more weakness on ETH? We're talking 3.5. We're talking a little bit deeper than that. Then you are going to see a little bit of a bleed out on Link, and you want to make sure that you can grab this thing in a great area. So area number 1 that you're looking at, 15.9. Area number 2 that you're looking at, 14.8. Both of these are nice bleed out areas. Both of these are great zones for you. So mark these on your charts. If you spot traders, set your limit orders, pick some up at these respective zones. These are very strong areas here for you where you should get a reaction. And remember, one of these zones on this ETH chart that I've been telling you guys about, one of these areas is going to mark the bottom of this potential move. And you want to make sure you're tying it in with your favorite altcoins, and preferably the ones that are going to recover the fastest and the ones that you think are going to move the hardest when the market turns super bullish. So make sure you are tying it in very well and watching all your favorite tokens. Okay, Ondo blew off today, and I mean, RWA in the news, as you saw, and Ondo now all-time highs. And what are we doing? How do we play this thing? So number 1, you've now cracked all-time high. So Ondo traders, your first line of support that you're watching, 1.05. It's clear now for you what can happen, what is happening here. And this is your first level, 1.05. Alternatively, there could be a nice little move coming for you off this 382 fib. So on any weakness here, you're looking at a move down into 0.99 or 1. Call it 1. That could be a scalper zone for you, number 1. So look out for a move into that region. On any weakness, you could get some kind of bounce there for Ondo, and then a higher conviction zone for you. It's got to be the 618. It's got to be this region here. And you can see we've got this 50-day MA turning up as well. And as this thing creeps up, it just starts adding a little bit of support for you, a little bit higher up. And you want to tie that in with these nice horizontals here as well. And you can see a nice juicy zone here for you, 0.9. for Ondo. So 2 potential scalper zones, 2 potential zones which could be or could tie into the potential bottom of a move here on ETH, the potential bottom of this altcoin move. So look out. Don't miss this opportunity here. 1 for Ondo and 0.9 for Ondo. Both are banging areas there for you. Sure. Okay, guys, we've nailed it. We've absolutely smashed it. And Ray's still alive. There he is. It's Friday. You can see it's Friday. Ray's going to be on the source later, I'm sure. The man's going to be out. He's just landed in Miami, in case you're wondering where the man is at the moment. Okay, levels are sorted. Bitcoin is sorted. And you know your resistance zones. You know your support levels. You know the strategy now. If this market turns bullish, we can deal with it, no problem. But right now, just prep in case there's going to be a bit more weakness. It could be. History might be rhyming or repeating. If it is, we need to just be cautious for now. If not, and things start popping, you're going to see me on Monday. We're going to be firing off entries. We're going to be doing all sorts of fun things. So guys, have a safe weekend. Don't overtrade. See you guys later.